Hi everyone, welcome to today's class. This is the last class of the story, How the Camel Got His Hump. So we have in the previous videos and exercises, we have learned the stories well, and we analyzed the story in terms of so many aspects. I hope you have answered a few questions and you have done a few exercises as well, which helped your understanding about the story. Today, as the last activity, I would like to introduce to you story writing, how to write a story. Okay, so what we are going to do is, first we will analyze the story that we have learned just now, how the camel got his hump. Based on that, we will analyze the main features of a story and how to write a story. I hope this will really help you, not only in creative writing, that is writing stories, but also when it is asked for examination in case you will be able to write a very clear, visual, beautiful story. Okay, so now what I want you to do is listen very carefully and always visualize the story that you have read about the camel, okay, in the previous lesson. So when we look at a story, what do we look at first? Or what are the various elements that we will look at? When I tell the title of the story, How the Camel Got His Hump, what will you mainly look at? I think the first picture that you will get is about the lazy camel, right? So the lazy camel. So the camel has some qualities. The character camel has some qualities, okay? So what else will you remember? You will also tell me about, or also tell me other characters, the man, the gene, the dog, the ox, etc. Okay? So the first and foremost thing we have to take care is the characters. So you list out the characters in the story, How the Camel Got His Hump. Okay, so once you completed that, you will get a few characters, and I'm posting the worksheet correspondingly to you. So when you're listening to me, you can pause the video and to answer the questions or do the exercise in order. Okay, so now you will be doing the first exercise, listing out the characters of the story, How the Camel Got His Hump. All right, so once you completed that, let's move on to the next one. Next part is, where does the story take place? Very important. When we write a story, it should have a setting, a background where the story takes place, okay, or the place where the story is taking place, right? So what is the setting of this story? Let's start. How the Camel Got His Hump. Where is the story taking place, or what is the setting of the story? Very important. So we analyze now the characters, the setting of the story. Okay, now when we think about a story that we have read, we will come to have a lot of visuals, right? A lot of visuals, a lot of pictures, right? Picture speaks 1,000 words, it is said. So how to create visuals in the story is very important. The powerful visuals that the readers will remember. So very important thing is visualization. How will we do the visualization? We will set up various scenes where the story is taking place, or various events of the story is taking place at various places. Like in the camel's story, it's on a desert, and different places at the desert, the pool, and all the places. You remember you had made drawings and sketches and paintings on various scenes of the story. Okay, so we have to create, or we have to set various scenes of the story. For example, I can tell you about the camel. The first scene that we get is the camel is standing in the middle of the desert without doing any work. So the lazy camel standing in the middle of the desert is one scene, right? You may also remember a dog is carrying a stick with it and it is moving towards a camel. So there are so many such kinds of visuals, so many visuals together create some scenes. So which are the visuals? So we have to create visuals when we are writing a story or various scenes. All right. So we have gone to then you can do that exercise in your worksheet where the camel's picture is there with a lot of spiking out. You have to list out various scenes of the story that you have learned, right? So now very important thing what we have to talk about is the characterization. What do you mean by characterization? How each character of the story is created. How the camel is created, how the horse is created, how the dog is created, what are the qualities of the each character, how the master is created, the genie is created, or how the man is created. For example, take the worksheet number 3 here, and you will get the camel. So how has the writer created the camel? Rudyard Kipling is very sensitively skillful to create such characters for the children. So he's a very lazy camel, always standing in the middle of the desert. And there's one thing very particular about the camel. What is that? It makes some sound always. Humph. Okay, humph. Humphing. That means get lost or something like that. I don't care, something like that. Okay. So, and that point is connected to the moral of the story till the last. Okay. Only because the camel was telling the word humph, humph as a kind of insulting word to everyone, he had to undergo the punishment for his misbehavior. How the writer is creating the character, okay? And this lazy camel, very arrogant and insulting others, always impolite, okay? And he's hesitating to do the work. So how the character is created, all these qualities, okay? And last, he gets punished. And he suffers for his mistakes. That's a value, right? So the character is created in various ways, right? So the character is very clear in our mind. When we read the character or read the story, when we remember the character, let's not be like the camel. He is very arrogant. He is lazy. He doesn't work. And for all his nonsense, he got punished for his life, not for a day. Till today, he is suffering. So the writer has created a very strong character. Don't you agree with me? Okay, now think about the horse. What a type of character is a horse? What a type of character is the next one? What a kind of character is a master? So I have listed out 5 characters in the grid, in the columns. In the table, you have to write in the last column, or the second and last column, the character and how the character is created. How will you write how the character is created? You have to just write down the qualities of the character based on various activities. All right, so the characters, very important. Right, now let us look at major event in the story, major happening or major problems or major scenes or major activities, right? So now you can list out the major activities from the beginning to the end. Right? So the central event is the camel not willing to work, always saying humph. That is a main event. So what will be the main event of your story? You're going to write a story. So there'll be a main thread we call main event, right? So look at that main event. Think about that main event before you write a story upon which all the characters will be working and all your story will be concentrating on that main theme. Central theme we call it, okay? So you can list out all the major events in the story. When you're going to write your story, you will visualize and you will jot down, you will point out or you will write down all the major events in a rough sketch, okay? Then we'll have a good idea about what are you going to do with the story, with the characters, with the scenes, with various events, etc., okay? So this way only we are creating a story. Now, are the small events in the story connected with the main event? There's one main event we have discussed, and there are so many small events also, short-term events or small events, tiny events, okay? Are they all connected to the main event? In the case of this, how the camel got his hump, all the events are connected. All the events, what? The dog is going to the camel and requesting, the horse is going to, the ox is going to, and the master is telling something, the genie is requesting him to, when he was at the pool looking at his own reflection in the pool and enjoying, and the genie was politely requesting and advising, but not the camel was not ready. He was very lazy and arrogant, right? So all the small events are directly connected to the main event or the central theme, so that we say that all the events are focused on the main event. Then only the story will be good enough to read. Otherwise, you will be explaining some small events which has no connection with the main event. The story will not be a good story at all. Okay, we will say there are so many stories in the story, so it is not a very focused story. All right, I think you're getting some good idea about how to develop a story. Okay, let's go ahead, move to the sixth activity or exercise in the worksheet. Are there conversations in the story? Think about it. Who are conversating here? The dog is conversating with whom? The man, the camel, and the gene, right? The horse is conversating the same way. The camel is conversating with everybody. Okay, gene is conversating with so many, right? So there are many conversations. Rather, the story is developed in through conversations. So, okay, so when you're making a story, conversations are very important elements to give a dramatic feeling to the story, that it is happening, it is taking place. It's very active story. Okay, to make the story very active and realistic, we have to name the characters, we have to create conversations. When you're going to write a story, think that you're creating some strong conversations among the characters or between some characters. All right, so conversation is a very big important part of your story. Okay, so now let us move on. So you will answer to that question which I have given to you in the worksheet. Are there conversations in the story? Please mention between whom. Who is the central character with whom all the conversations are connected? Okay, so that's just like all the events are connected to the main story. All the conversations among the characters or between the characters or talking to one another, all are focused on the main character or the central theme of the story. That's very important when we are writing a good story. All right, otherwise nobody will read it. All the great famous story that you have read or you have been reading, like Enid Blyton or Sherlock Holmes or whatsoever be, okay, or Arkenarayan, all the stories have the central theme, a lot of characters, a lot of conversation, a lot of scenes, a lot of settings connected to the central theme, etc. All right, now very important. How do we remember a story? Maybe based on a character, or some scenes and events, or some morals or themes or some messages. And the first and foremost one is the title, the heading of the story, the title of the story. Is the title very important? Do you think so? How do you recognize a story? Either by the writer, but the writer's which story? So the title is a very important thing to recognize a story. Okay, so if the title is not very good, we don't like to remember it. Okay, so the title should be very small or short or very crispy, or it should be eye-catching or mind-catching. Okay, so then only we will remember it. Think about some titles that you have. The Happy Prince, Ugly Duckling. It's all about Ugly Duckling, a duckling which is a dark one, quite different from the other. So the entire story is winding round the Ugly Duckling. Okay, so then Tom and Jerry, Tom and Jerry. All right, so if it is Jerry and Tom, sometimes it won't be as hit as it is Tom and Jerry. All right, so Winnie Pooh. So all these kinds of Pink Panther show you must be watching. Pink Panther is all about panther's tricks and silliness, right? So now let's look at what are the very important things we have to take here while we are making a title. It should be is it attractive? Should it be attractive? Does it make you curious to read? When you read the title, will it force you to read? Does it create some interest in you to read? Oh, how the story will be. I don't think it's a good one because the title doesn't look so good. It doesn't look attractive. I don't feel like reading it. So a good title will always force us to read. Okay? Does the title encourage or motivate you to read the story? That's very important. And when you're now going to write a story, see that your title is inviting others to read. After writing the story or after giving a title, ask your parents, ask your siblings, do you find the title interesting? Okay, so then does the title focus on the complete events or theme of the story? How the camel got his hump. It's completely about the camel's listeners, and he is uttering hump, hump, hump like that. Okay, so shouldn't the events of the story, title of the story, focus on the central theme and events of the story? Definitely, it has to. Okay, now does the story bring any suspense? Can you guess out something? Or does it create some curiosity or suspense to read? Oh my God, what is going to happen? Let me read and find out. Like that. Such a curiosity should be elicited in the readers when you're giving a title. So beware, your title also should create such a kind of suspense in the readers. What's the way to check it? Create a title. Ask your parents or your siblings or your friends, can you guess out something? Does it create any suspense for you to read? Would you like to read my story by reading the title? Or does the title force you or give a suspense for you to read? Check it, okay? Always this checking is very important. All right, sometimes a minute change of words from here to there or modification of it will make a wonderful title from the already made a title, okay? So always there's a modification or a repair or a kind of redraft, very important when we're writing a story. And I don't think anybody writes a very great story unless he or she is extremely talented to write a story at a stretch in a single go. All right, so always we have to draft again and again and again. Don't worry when you don't get it in the first time. It happens with everybody, and even for me it's very difficult to write a story, even though I tell you everything about story writing. But when I sit back to write a story, it is really difficult. I don't get the head and tail about it, and it's very difficult for everybody. And you know the maxim, practice makes a man perfect. Okay, so experience is the best teacher. So write and endlessly write and come out to be a great story writer. You can, and everybody can. All the great writers haven't emerged in a day. It is due to continuous interest and continuous practice and so many failed attempts. You know very well, J.K. Rowling's works were rejected by a lot of publishers. They were not ready to accept and claimed it as rubbish, and it doesn't invite any reader's attention. It was what the estimation. Lastly, what happened? So that is what the magic of words, right? Okay, now let's go back to the title. Does the title bring you some suspense in the story? Definitely it should be, okay? You have to analyze it in terms of how the camel got the hump. After entire analysis, you will have a very clear idea about how a story should be, and now it is time for you to write a story like that, okay? So can you make a rough guess about the storyline from the title? Can you tell me, after reading the title, can you tell me what the story must be about? Or it may be round like this, maybe almost like this, maybe some elements of the story like this. Can you guess out? Now come back to the title of How the Camel Got His Hump. Can you guess out around? Yeah, you may think that, okay, it is about a camel, and it's about a camel who is saying hump. It may be connected to his hump, maybe some kind of activity, some kind of laziness, some kind of things like we can guess out, and ultimately we will find that, yeah, whatever we have guessed out is more or less the same. So a good title should have the ability to help the readers guess something about the story. Then only the readers will have the suspense to find out. Let me now find out what the story is exactly about. I have guessed this must be the storyline, or this might be the storyline. Let me guess out after reading it. So a good title will force the readers to read the story. All right. So what are the elements that we have to take care when we are giving a title? Children, have you got some ideas? Keep it in your mind. It is not for today. It's for every day. It's for your life. Maybe one of you or some of you will become a great story writer. Then you will remember, yeah, I have learned it in my 8th standard as an extended activity, how to write a story. Yeah, let us see how it is going to be. It is a very nice experience, okay? Now, so how should a title or a heading of a story be? Remember, a story's title should be largely based on the central theme. Check it with our camel story. Okay, should motivate us to read. There should be some suspense, okay, and some curiosity. So should give some suspense or some kind, or create some kind of curiosity in the reader. All right, should be catchy or attractive. It should be very catchy title, attractive. Catch 22, that was the title of the story, right? So, The Golden Eye, some movies names, right? In The Pursuit of Happiness, Will Smith's beautiful, very famous movie, okay? So the title is very important. Now let us go ahead and let me tell you, once we have completed that, very important thing, what do we like to tell the people at the end of the story, or what will the people learn from the story? Many of the stories will have a message. We can call it a moral, we can call it values, but there will be some hidden message or very explicit message. What's the message of the camel? How the camel got his hump, the story? Laziness is always punished, okay? You should not be lazy. You should be courteous. You should be polite. You should be responsible for one's duty. Pride goes before a fall. A stitch in time saves 9. Okay, so then that is what is very important. We should be loyal and obedient in the right way. So now there should be a moral for your story. So a lot of elements in a story, right? So is moral very important in the story? You have to write the question and answer. Are morals based on some values? Are there some values in the story? How the camel got his hump? And what will be the values that you're going to talk about in your story? Does your story give a moral? Okay, why is moral very important to a story? You think about it and you write answer to that question. How does a good story with a moral help us? In what way is a moral of the story contributing to the beauty or the quality of the story? Should everyone read moral stories? You tell me. There should only be moral stories, or other type of stories possible? Should everyone read moral stories, or should the students or the children read moral stories? Why are the bedtime stories read to the children when they are in their early ages? So think about it, okay? So you answer them here, and after that, can you suggest some 5 very good moral stories, or very good moral stories for your family and your friends? Any good stories that you have read, you remember, with all these characteristics? For example, The Ugly Duckling. The Ugly Duckling is a literary fairy tale, we can say, written in 1844 by the Danish poet and author Hans Christian Andersen. Okay, so The Ugly Duckling is a very famous story. Everybody knows it. Okay, it has a moral, it has a good title, it has so many characters, it has conversation, it has a stage setting, it has so many scenes, all the things that we have discussed. So write down such 5 stories and the authors. Okay, and now, you know, it's writing time. So here, your project is to write a story, but you have to follow all the instructions given to you. Want to follow it? So it's very interesting. So once again, let's consolidate what we have learned is there is a title, there's a central theme, there are characters. Characters are formed with the different qualities, series of events connecting to the theme of the story, conversations focusing on the main character and the central theme, Strong visual characters properly described, very strong visual characters. We can visualize them. That's visual characters, and the background of the story, the place or the places, the scenes or the location of the story with visual description. You remember I had requested you to make a picture or a painting of any scene of the story that you have read, How the Camel Got His Hump. So it was very interesting that you have created beautiful such sketches with your imagination, with color combinations, greatly visual, only because the story writing was so visual about the scenes that you could paint well. So that is very important quality of a story. Okay, so strong visual characters properly described, then the events, and then creating suspense with unexpected events to happen. We call it as twist. We can't guess out every time, and maybe last there's a twist like that. When the twist is created, there is always a suspense. Okay, so creating a suspense with unexpected events and happenings in the story. Focus on some moral values or some morals or some messages, etc. Okay, and very important, will you write 10 pages of a story? Here I don't recommend you to write such long stories. So you have to, I don't like to read very long stories. It's very time taking. Sometimes it's going around and round and round, beating around the bush. Sometimes we get bored. We can guess out everything. Even by leaving certain pages, nothing is going to happen. All right, so don't write such kind of stories. Let's write short stories, focused ones. Short stories are the most difficult ones to write, but the most beautiful, scenic ones. Okay, so decide the size of the story. Should I write 2 pages or 3 pages, or how brief it should be? So you may need to rewrite it sometimes. Okay, reduce some elements which we have elaborated a lot of unnecessary sentences and connected sentences, etc. Okay, it's a time-taking process, but it's beautiful. All right, so this is what we're going to do today. And now I have given a format for you. Now work on your story. Do rough work on all the above points that we have discussed. Create a correct visuals and outline of the story of your story, and write your story. You will create an outline. These are my characters, these are the scenes, these are the conversational elements I like to, these are the values, these are the places, or this is the moral, etc. All these elements, like previous points I have given you, and you can do a rough work and create the strong visuals of your story, the outline of your story. And now, once you have done everything, now create your story. Here I have given a format. We are very curious to read your story. All right, I'll be getting hundreds and thousands of stories if everybody watches it on YouTube and tries it seriously. Okay, so I've given a small format, and there'll be a title and the writer's name on the right side or down or wherever it is, and you create your stories. But mind, you have to set in different paragraphs. Okay, paragraphing is very important. They say 2 pages or 3 pages or 4 pages, whatsoever be, but don't write more than 3 pages for the time being. Okay, write a short story, very short story. And now, once you wrote your story, it is time to check whether your story includes all the elements that we have discussed. How good is my story? You can either have a checklist based on the points, and you can check it, or you can give it to your friends or your family members, read it out to them, and once you read it out to them, you will feel how nice it is or where the changes have to be made, right? Okay, so I have created a visual, some questions that you will ask you. Do I have a central theme and a character or other characters? Who, how many are they? And background of the story, the place, where the story is taking place, the series of events and happenings, have I put them? Our conversations and the theme have been struck very well, or can the reader visualize the scenes? How powerful are the scenes? My description should be clear and attractive. Sorry. Is my title of the short story attractive or suspenseful or curious to read, etc.? Moral of the story. What values in the moral is available? The size of the story, short or brief, whatsoever be. So you have a lot of checkpoints here, right? So this is what today's work, and I hope everybody will enjoy writing the story, but follow the steps properly. Once you follow it, that's a kind of lifelong experience for you and a great learning for everybody to follow. Whenever you write a story, all these elements will come to you, and you'll be pretty happy to visualize your stories, and you can make an outline very fast and start writing the story. Okay, so I don't hold you anymore. It's time for you to first go through the worksheet which I have given to you, and based on the story How the Camel Got His Hump. Analyze the story in terms of all these elements. Once you have completed that, and you have to go through this video, and then you will be moving towards the first draft of the story. All right, so once you complete it, once you made the final draft of the story, I have a request to you. It's my personal request. I would like to know how you enjoy the video and how much helpful the video was to you in creating a story. So how were your learning and story writing experience today? We would love to know. Can you express them in the form of writing in a page or as a voice message in not less than 1 minute? If you do that, it'll be a great honor for me, so that I will come to know how far the class of today would had been helpful to you. Okay, and next step is sending your story to any publication and get it published, or give it to the school magazine for publication, or make your own magazine and publish it online. Okay, even you can take the next step of recording your story. Be a good storyteller. Learn a little bit about how to tell a good story, and audio record your story and send to me, or archive or showcase somewhere and audio record the story and send to me. Will be a very good idea, my dear children, and please try and see. And it has multiple skill development: writing, listening, speaking, visualizing, characterizations, hundreds of skills together. It's a right form of learning, and please send your audio record, if you could do that, to me, or message me how your experience was. I'll be curious to learn your story or read your story. Thank you so much. Have a great day ahead. If you liked the video, press the like button. If you love to subscribe to my channel, please do that. Your comments are welcome always to improve the videos further. Have a good day. Bye-bye.